if you don't have this applique pattern, you can download it in the description box down below. If you have downloaded it off my website, thank you so much. I'm just going to go through everything on the page. So this is just letting you know that it's a very easy pattern and it's an applique mug rug. The finished size is going to be 6.5 by 5.5. On the back here is going to give you a detailed information on the notions that are required, the fabric requirements, and also the cutting instructions. This is totally scrap friendly. I'm currently filming this tutorial, so I will have this information here on the YouTube, what the address is, but obviously you guys know because you're watching it. Here is a note section for anything that you want to write down. Here we have the full written instructions, a template, and also the pattern pieces for the applique. So going over page 1, I give you the finished size, which is 6.5 by 5.5. Please read all the instructions before starting the projects, but I'll be going through them all in entirety right now. All measurements are in meters. The fabric measurements are based on a 40-inch wide fabric. The applique pieces have already been reversed, so you don't need to reverse them. Overlapping has been accounted for. Light steamer seam 2 product is recommended as the pieces are repositionable. So that means you can like stick it down and lift it up. It's not like heat and bond. Heat and bond is more permanent. The steamer seam 2 light products I absolutely love. So all the colours I've used for the sample are what I say. You can make them in whatever colours that you want. And the project is turned right side out, so there's no binding on this mug rug. I do give you the fabric requirements. I've said fat quarter of each just because it was easier, and also a 7 by 6 inch of quilt batting. So scrap friendly is really the way to go for this. So I just give you examples of the colours that I specifically used. It doesn't have to be that way. You can do whatever colour that you want. So the notions that I tell you to use are light steamer seam 2 and 1 sheet of that, or 1/4 meter of it. Sewing machine thread, matching thread for the applique, erasable fabric pen, rotary cutter, small sharp scissors and mat. General sewing supplies, sewing machine with the ability to free motion quilt, sticky tape. Then I highly recommend that you use a light box just because it's easier. And then use a Teflon pressing sheet. I'll be going through that as we get into the sewing tutorial. Highly recommend a silicone fusing applique mat, ironing board and pressing mat, pencil, and 505 adhesive spray. So let's go through the first steps. Here we have got the 6 by 7 pieces which make up the main portion of the mug rug. This is the teacup piece, this is the saucer, this is the handle, and then this is the tea or coffee that's actually in the cup. My free patterns come with watermarks, and this is a free pattern by the way, and you can see where all of the overlaps are on this template. This is my light box, and I'm going to put my applique pieces down. I do like to stick down some masking tape so my pattern doesn't move about on me when I'm trying to trace it. So this is a piece of the light steamer seam. It has a gridded side as well as a blank side. Doesn't really matter which side you use, but you do want to have some space around the areas that you are tracing. So always leave about 1/2 inch to 1 inch space between all the pieces. So I'm going to get a pencil. And I'm going to start tracing all the way around these pieces. Don't worry if you're not quite on the lines, it really doesn't matter. But get into the hang of marking what this piece is. Because once you start working with bigger appliques, you're going to have a lot more sections. So start getting used to marking what the piece is. So I've done a C. And notice how I've done an underline here. That means that let's say when you get like a letter that can look like another letter, like a Z can also look like an N. So always mark underneath what the letter is. And then I'm going to get my next one and I'm going to trace that one. Once again, this one's D. And get my little handle here. Like I said, you're going to leave some space in between all of these parts. This one's B. And then I'm going to do A. This YouTube video is going to have chapters, so you can watch it again and just skip to the various parts that you need. There you go. So they're all my parts. That was very easy. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our paper scissors. We're not cutting on the lines just yet. We're cutting around the pieces. But not on the lines. We're going to get the fabrics that we pre-cut and match them up to the pieces that we just did. So they should fit nicely on them pre-cut fabrics, and they do. So now what we're going to do is take off one layer of our steamer seam light, and so we want the side that we've got that we drew the template on. Sometimes the sticky side will be on the wrong side that we don't want it on. So you can just press your thumb on that steamer seam and peel that back, and that will take that adhesive layer away and put it to the side that we want it on. So just make sure that your sticky side is on the template side. And then what we're going to do is place that to the back of our fabric. Obviously this only matters if we've got a printed side. Now I'm just going to trim this down just a little bit. And what we're going to do is the same again. We're going to peel that steamer seam. And once again, it's on the side that we don't want it on. So I'm just going to press it to my thumb, and that allows that adhesive to be pulled away. Put that on there. Do the same with this one. That goes on the reverse. Always the reverse. And a little handle here. Now you're going to take this over to your iron and you're going to press all of these into place. It doesn't take much, you're just pressing. Swear I love this iron. It has no cord. There we go. Now the reason I like to keep it a little bit wider and then cut over the line now is it will fray a little bit, but that glue just helps it to not fray as much. Then we just cut around all of our sections. Now this is my silicone mat. Obviously silicone is non-stick and my steamer seam is repositionable. So what we're going to do is, I like to keep my template as a reference, or you can put it underneath and you can use a light box in order to highlight that. But this is such an easy one, I don't really need to do that. So let's first position everything into place. We're going to start with the saucer. So we're going to place the saucer down. So you're just going to peel the fabric back And then the glue is now on the fabric and not on the paper because we pressed it. So we're going to place that down. Then once you got that down, we're going to place B down. Sometimes I need to like move this a couple of times before I get it into place. And it's a little bit fiddly. It's not too fiddly. There we go. Peel that back. Then we can get the handle. And this is a good thing about the repositionable aspect of the steamer steamers, because you can literally pick things up and put them back down and move them about. So see, this is normally when you see whether your handle's not in the right place or not. Let's have a look. Yeah, I need to move the handle out a little bit. So see, all I do is pick that off, pick it up. It's just tacky. And put it back down. And I think that'll do. And then we got to put the coffee in the coffee cup. So much fun doing applique. There we go. Just make sure you see a little bit of the back of that cup. And then if you're happy with how it looks, you can press it down. Mine came with a Teflon sheet, so I'm just going to press that into place. And I'm just going to take this off. And this will now be like one sticker. So all the parts of this applique are now attached to this one piece. You're going to take one of your 6x7 pieces, and then I found the centre just by folding it half and finger pressing, folding that half again, finger press that down, and then that will just give you a cross hatch of where your centre is. Take your teacup applique, which is still repositionable. So if I just put that down like that, I can still pick it up and put it back down again. So it's just a little bit tacky, and it's great for using with applique. So I think that's perfect there. Once we're committed, we're going to press it down. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 505 spray. I'm going to have my batting section, keep the backing to one side for a second, and I'm just going to spray very lightly some of this adhesive to the batting, and then I'm going to place that on top of there. Then nothing's going to move on us. I'm going to take this over to my mid-arm, and I'm going to do some free motion quilting on this teacup. I'm going to be using my Big Block mid-arm, which is just a quilting machine, a free motion quilting machine. It does exactly the same thing as what your sewing machine will do when you drop your feed dogs. I like to go over about 3 times. All you're basically doing is sketching around the design. It's a great way to learn free motion quilting. I pretty much do this with all of my applique. Now we're going to switch over to a sewing machine. This is the Altair 2. It's a sewing and embroidery machine. And I'm going to change it to sewing. And I want the regular straight stitch. If I want a guide on it, I can put a guide on this machine, which is pretty smart. And I always sew using what is necessarily the walk-in foot. This is a dual feed foot, and it has a track system, and it holds onto that fabric very, very well. So I'm going to lift that presser foot up. I'm going to get the back of my mug rug, and I'm going to place that face down. The fabrics are going to be right sides facing each other, like so. And we are going to leave a gap of about 2 inches because we want to pull this right side through, remember, because we're not doing binding. So I'm going to start a little bit down here. So it's going to be about 1.5 inches from the longer end of the mug rug. I like to sew with that pivot key, so that pivot key allows that presser foot to automatically come up. Then I can just turn the fabric around. This is all at 1/4 inch. You just make sure that when you come to that very last corner, that you're going to leave that space. Now this is that last bit here. So you just only want to do about 1.5 inches. And I'm going to reverse. And I'm going to cut my thread off because it automatically cuts my thread. And then we have this hole here. So we're going to bring this right sides out. Before we do that, cut the corners off. So it helps it just to turn right sides out nice. Then you can open that part that we left. I'm going to turn it through. And then just poke the corners when you turn it out, and we are going to press as well. Take over to your iron and press your mug rug down. Next thing you want to do is top stitch all the way around into place, and then that will close that opening up right there. I hope you've enjoyed watching this tutorial, and there are more patterns coming soon. Bye bye.